Judith Orr. I am a National Officer of Stop the War Coalition, and I'm also Editor of Socialist Worker.
So why are you here today?
I'm here today because I want to protest about the 10-year war in Afghanistan. We should never have been in the country, we shouldn't be in occupation, and our troops, the British troops, have been there all this time. 30,000, 40,000 Afghans have died, that's why I'm here.
What about the other wars in Iraq, for example?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what we've seen is US imperialism trying to stomp its way around the globe, and really it's failing, which is a good thing, but actually many people are suffering as a result. The Iraq war was a debacle. You know, the country is devastated, people are struggling to survive, the infrastructure has been utterly wrecked, and so it wasn't a success. And Barack Obama called Afghanistan the good war, that he was going to go in there and win it, and yet all we're seeing is more drone attacks, more bombing, but really for ordinary people there it's got worse and worse.
What about Pakistan?
Well, Pakistan has been sucked into this, hasn't it? It's a much bigger country, it's a nuclear state, and yet in their desperation to win the war in Afghanistan they have dragged Pakistan into deep instability, and these drone attacks that Obama has done many more drone attacks than any other president before him, have actually meant that many Pakistani civilians have died as well. And all that's happening is it's actually inflaming more people to be angry against the West about what's happening to their country.
What do you feel has been achieved in the last 10 years since the invasion of Afghanistan?
Achieved by the anti-war movement, or?
Achieved by actually going there.
Oh, all that's been achieved is the world is a more dangerous place, that many more people in the Middle East and North Africa and across Asia, people are angry about the West because of what they can see it's doing. What has been achieved is a rise in Islamophobia in Britain and in Europe, which has taken frightening measures. I mean, even today the English Defence League are marching further down the road today, a horrible racist anti-Muslim group. That's what's been achieved, and all of it is negative.
Why is it important to have an anti-war movement?
It's vital for those imperialist countries that are going around the world invading and bombing other countries. It's vital that we show that this is not in our name, that what our governments do is not by our bidding. The majority of people in Britain are against the war in Afghanistan, and yet it's still going on. And therefore, I think for Afghans who want to see what Britain is doing or look at NATO, it's important they see that the population of Britain does not support what's happening to them.
How do you feel about the money that's been spent on these wars?
I think it's an obscenity. I think that the money that could be spending, $4.5 billion every year, is being spent by Britain in Afghanistan, and yet they're telling us that we haven't got enough money for Sure Start schemes for children, or for pensions, or for the NHS. So a situation really where we're spending billions bombing one of the poorest countries in the world, and at the same time cutting back on some of the most poor and vulnerable people in Britain, seems to me a very sick way of deciding your priorities.
Did you support the intervention in Libya?
No.
Why didn't you support it?
Well, they claimed it was a humanitarian intervention to help the people fighting for democracy, but actually what the imperialists were doing, they're never interested in bringing democracy for people. They wanted to really get back into the region after the revolutions that kicked out their allies in order to be able to still shape events. So they have a completely strategic view on why they did it, and I think it won't help Libyans get democracy. In fact, it will be harder for them.